Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss about the late response. A late response have two, F wave and H reflex. So in this video I'm going to talk about the F wave. Late responses is what? So late responses are the potentials appearing after motor response. Okay, whenever the motor responses come after some time, the late responses is occur. It following a mixed nerve stimulation. Standard sensory and motor nerve conduction studies usually are performed on distal segments of the nerves. So generally after sensory motor nerves ने study करी है standardly तो mostly we can use the distal segments of the nerves. So it is difficult to evaluate the NCV in extremely proximal segments of peripheral nerve. Okay, we can perform generally on distal segments, but whenever we want a proximal segment NCV, so it is difficult to evaluate a NCV on proximal segment, so such as plexus and roots. Because of these technical problems associated with selectively stimulating nerves and nerve roots close to the spine, so when there is a need to examine these portions, proximal portions of the peripheral nerves, so in NCV study we can use a late responses, or we can say that known as late responses. Because of the response occurs much later after the stimulus than the direct CMAP response. That means when you apply a NCV, so first of all the M reflex is present on graph, and after some time this late responses come. That's why it is known as a late response. So in late response we have included two, F wave and H reflex. So firstly we discuss about the F wave. It was firstly described by McGlintrey and the McDonald in 1950. It is elicited by supramaximal stimulus of peripheral nerve at a distal site, lead to both orthodromic and antidromic impulses. So here the orthodromic and antidromic impulses means. Orthodromic means this is used in SNC, that is sensory nerve conduction velocity. So orthodromic means you have to put a stimulating electrode on distal point and stimulating electrode distally and recorded electrode proximally. So this is known as the orthodromic. And in antidromic, we have put a stimulating electrode proximally and recorded electrode distal point of the nerve. So that impulse is known as orthodromic and antidromic. No synapse is involved. F wave is not a reflex but only a measured motor neuron conditions. So it is not a reflex. It is just a wave which measure a motor neuron condition. Latency is variable in F wave. Amplitude is small, that is 5% of the M wave, that is a CMAP, compound motor accent potential na 5% itlo. So which is very small. Latency means the whenever you apply a stimulus and after that onset of stimulus is occur, the time between the two, that is a onset of stimulus and onset of response, that interval is known as latency. And amplitude means it is the maximal height of the accent potential, that is amplitude, so which is very small in F wave. Then about stimulus, so in F wave whenever you give supramaximal stimulus, then and then F wave is come on graph, but it absent with submaximal stimulus. So when you apply a submaximal stimulus, F wave is not present, that is absent. It helpful to diagnose some condition like GBS, that is Guillain-Barré syndrome, brachial plexus injuries, thoracic outlet syndrome, and some radiculopathies which involve more than one nerve root. The F wave response has been also used in a pharmacological studies of spasticity as measures of alpha motor neuron excitability. The latency of F wave is 30 seconds in upper extremity and 60 seconds in lower extremity. Only small percentage of motor neuron can be participated in F wave response. Now here some difference between F wave and H reflex. We just know for knowledge, that is F wave. So response, it is not a reflex. It is a wave. So antidromic motor discharge and measured in any motor nerve, wherever the H reflex is monosynaptic. Pathway to F wave carry alpha motor neurons and sense In H reflex, sensory and alpha motor neurons both. Latency is variable in F wave, whether latency is constant in H reflex. The amplitude is small 5% of M wave in F wave and 50 to 100% of M wave in H reflex. All distal muscles are able to taste in F wave, but only gastrocnemius and some large muscles can be stimulated by H reflex. The stimulus is supramaximal and H reflex in that a submaximal. That means in F wave, when you apply a supramaximal stimulus, then and then F wave is present. But in H reflex, when you apply submaximal stimulus, then H reflexes come. So supramaximal is absent in H reflex and submaximal is absent in F wave. The rate, so it is slower than H reflex, and the H reflex which is faster than F wave. So these are the some difference. Here the diagram, the first is M wave, that is CMAP, and here the F wave which is short, okay, and which only conduct a motor nerves. Whether in H reflex, firstly this is M wave, and here the large graph which present or which shows a H reflex. So this is all about a F wave. In next video we will discuss about the H reflex. Thank you.